What's up guys, HOTSHOTFRONTIER back at it again with another video, and in this video guys, I want to rate the best decks post the September 2nd ban list. And as you guys know, it was a huge list, so a lot of the decks have been shooken up in the meta. So let's go ahead and get started with this. And of course, the criteria is which are the best decks post all the banning, the limitations, the semi-limits. So let's get right into it, of course. And if you guys do like this type of content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn the notification bell on so you're updated the moment I upload new videos. But all right, let's get started with Fire Kings. And Fire Kings for me probably have to be in testing meta. You know, I feel like overall people were really preferring to try out Fiendsmith Snake Eyes because it really was the best deck before the ban list. Now, I think people will kind of try Fire Kings a little more, and it's not a bad strategy. It's just that it does use a lot of the Snake Eyes cards, of course. And now with the several hits, it has to be into testing meta because we have to see if it's one of the best decks in this format. Maybe if not, I think that it's still a good contender in the meta. Next up, we do have Branded, and it is so unfortunate with Branded Fusion going to 1. People really thought, okay, Gimmick Puppet ban, or come on, even the Albion the Sacred Fire Dragon ban. But they really did go ahead and just hit Branded Fusion to 1. That's crazy to me. But I think for me, right now, it's a little rough. I don't know if I really want to put it all the way in Rogue level, but I think there's current circumstances of how important Branded Fusion is, we might have to just put it at Rogue level. I don't know if it's even going to be able to test meta, personally. You know what? I'll give it the fact that it's still a very insane strategy, and we'll put it at testing meta. Maybe we'll see some really good cooks in the meta, for our, the next format. But next up, we do have literally the best deck going forward post ban list. We have Fiendsmith Ubel. Now I know, right? This lost so much. Just the same thing with Snake Eyes, but it has so much going for it. Now, of course, they did lose the Lacrima. They lost the Appaloosa, potential Beatrice if people were using the Beatrice route. But, it still has, of course, Phantom Ubel being 3 in this current meta is insane. I know hitting going to 1 was opening, but hey, the deck is still doing its thing. And personally, I think that this is a deck you 100% should be watching out for post ban list. Now, going on to Black Wings, my favorite deck of all time. We're actually putting it at Rogue level, but hey, I feel like it could be at best deck at some point. Trust me, I'm gonna cook up a new recipe for you guys. So definitely, make sure you turn that notification bell on so you're updated when I do go ahead and make a new Blackwing deck profile. Next up, we have Lunar Lights, and put that at Copium. I know they did receive new, limitation. I think it was Tiger, like went back to 2 or 3. But I think even, past that, it's been power crept out of the game for a long time now. So personally, it just goes into Copium. Next up, we do have Fiendsmith, of course, Rescue Ace. And I would actually put that at the next best thing. I think Fiendsmith mixed with, of course, Rescue Ace is really good. Remember, how broken Rescue Ace was before people went to like Snake Eyes. So that's something you do have to remember. And I think a lot of this format will be, can you run a Fiendsmith engine in your deck? And if so, I think it's going to be really strong. So let's keep that there. Moving on, we have Fluenderies, and that is going in Rogue level. Now, of course, by the banning of cards like Appaloosa, this deck becomes a little bit stronger, but I think that it's sort of on that line of almost being power crept, almost, because it's still a broken strategy. But Pot of Prosperity to 1 really hurts the consistency of this deck. But past that though, I think that this is still one of the best anti-meta decks that we currently have access to. So you have to respect it and put it at the top of Rogue level. Now, moving on, we do have Runic White Forest, or White Woods, however you guys want to say it. Personally, it could be the next best thing. Now, Runic did receive a little bump from the ban list, and I think mixed with White Woods, it's a very great strategy to combine that with. So personally, I think this format will see a lot of more, really more tops with this strategy, but also maybe a victory or 2. So keep your eyes open for that. And then of course, we do have the last, tier 0 deck. We have Fiendsmith Snake Eyes, and it's still one of the best decks in the format, but I believe that Ubel is just a little bit stronger now. It's definitely a little bit stronger now, post ban list. But of course, let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Next up, we do have Thunder Dragon, And this is just Thunder Dragon by itself, right? This isn't like with the engine, but Thunder Dragon Colossus going to 2 is great because I know eventually it's going to hit 3. No one believed me, but hey, it's all right. It's all right. I forgive you. Next, we're going to put this at Copium though, and we're just talking about pure Thunder Dragon. I don't think it's going to do anything. It's more of the same in terms of like Sky Striker, just being kind of power crept out of the game, like Orcus as well. But maybe in the future, we'll see something else happen with that. Next up, we do have Labyrinth, and I'm hoping to see a lot more with Labyrinth. You know, it has access to so many broken cards, and I believe it was YCS Sacramento. We did see that one player use that big brain trap card, which it's like a mathematical equation card. And I mean, for reasons like that, using broken like trap cards like that is why Labyrinth is such a great deck. It's the best trap deck we currently have access to in the TCG. So that's something you do have to remember. So we'll put that at next best thing. And of course, we do have, of course, Fiendsmith, Chimera. And like I said, combine Fiendsmith with anything, it gives it a big bump. But I mean, at the end of the day, Chimera is a very strong strategy as well. And we're not currently putting this in like, order, but I think that it could probably be better, a little better than Labyrinth. You can, of course, summon the Apprentice Magician and be able to really continue off your combos. And I can't remember the card's name, but the card that allows you to have your opponent set their spell and traps, I believe there are spell cards before they're able to activate them, is a broken card. And it has a lot going for it, in Labyrinth. Next up, we do have Tier Limit, and now this is the first deck that we can actually use the Grass Looks Greener with, right? So I'm actually curious to see how that goes. I would put that at testing meta because you know how crazy Tier Limit players are. If you look at the OCG, how many hits the deck has taken, and people are still doing like crazy things with it, right? I think they combined it with like Paleozoic frogs, and it's actually gone far. So now adding the Grass Looks Greener and so many different ways to actually be able to get into that as well with TTT, or you even have the left arm offering. So personally, I think that we will see something crazy happen with Tier Limits. We'll just have to wait. Next up, we do have Sprite, and Sprite, I don't know if Sprite is at the top. I mean, technically it could be because, right, you do have with Runic Sprite, you have Ice Spirit Sprite, which has been a really popular version. You can just play with Paleozoics as well. I think that a lot of the variants are pretty strong, even going into next format. And Sprite itself did not lose anything on the ban list, to my knowledge. So I personally would just leave it at the next best thing. And hey, maybe it will be the first, second, third, topping decks going into next format. Centurion, right? Centurion, I would put it at testing meta. Now, it did lose the Hot Red Calamity Dragon, but it's still a very solid deck in itself. And personally, I think with more support, we could really see it more at the top levels of competitive play. Next up, we do have Infernoids, and again, another deck that can play the Grass Looks Greener. Now, we're gonna have to really test it out, but I think it just belongs in Rogue level for now. I mean, the deck had issues before, but the new support did look really good, so maybe combining it with the Grass Looks Greener will make it better. But I think the baseline of the deck, of any decks using that card, still have to be really good before you even add in that card as well. So we'll see what happens as time goes on. Next up, we do have Gimmick Puppets, and yeah, it's kind of copium now. It's kind of copium post ban list. I mean, I did see a few videos of how the combo goes, but it's a little messier now than it was before. So that is quite unfortunate for Gimmick Puppets. But hey, we knew at some point that deck was going to be hit, and I mean, it had to really just be the next ban list because that deck was just broken. Just FTKs all around. Next up, we do have Heroes, and Heroes will go to Rogue level. They didn't lose anything or really gain anything off the ban list, but Heroes have always been solid, so just go ahead and throw that in Rogue level. Now, next up, we do have Memento. Memento could be one of the best decks this format. Now, listen, they did lose Apple, right? But hey, the deck is still insanely broken. None of its engine got hit at all. I mean, there's no reason for it to have gotten hit, but I think this is its chance to actually shine and possibly be that tier 0 threat going into next format. Let me know, of course, what you guys think down below. And of course, subscribe to the channel for more videos. But going on, we do have, of course, Mimighoul. And Mimighoul, I think, is a huge threat. I think we can put it in testing meta. I mean, it's a really, really strong deck in itself to be able to flip, give your opponent flipped monsters flip them up and then apply their effects as well. You can use cards like the Soul and Luna as well to interact with your opponent's cards that you give them. I think that even with time, it will get, become much stronger because again, it's a world premiere deck and it will receive new support soon. And if, determining how broken it is now, at least in my opinion, you can get much stronger later on. Next up, we do have Lightsworn, and Lightsworn again is one of the 3 mill decks that we talked about in terms of course, using the grass looks greener. Now, I think that it may either be at the low end of rogue level. I wouldn't put it at Copium because, the Lightsworn support was really good when it came out. But I think, we're gonna have to find different routes to play this deck, but it still belongs at rogue level. I wouldn't put it at Copium because it's not on the same level as something like Thunder Dragon, where Thunder Dragon has been power crept. But, Lightsworn did receive, newer support, so it deserves to at least be at rogue level. And let's see if that card really does help the deck out. Moving on, we do have just Whitewoods itself. And I mean, hey, I would still put it at the next best thing. It still deserves to be here. I think that more people will find different ways you can play this with. You can play this with Centurion. Off the top of my head, you could play this with just the Toy Box engine itself, and it's still a pretty strong build. I guess if you're just playing it pure, you could have more room for like hand traps and stuff like that, which is great. Moving on, we do have Runic by itself, and Runic, I would just put them both here because you can just play different variants. The same thing with Sprite. It's on the really like the same like baseline level in terms of just pure, but then of course you can go ahead and just add different variants to it. So these are all just different variants like Sprite, Whitewoods, and of course Runic. Next up, we do have Salamangreat, and Salamangreat, I think Salamangreat is down here, to be honest with you. I think it has, listen, out of the Toss format decks, Salamangreat has been one of the best ones because it has really prolonged the history of just time of just staying in the meta and doing really well too. Like it did take a lot of tops and probably a few first place placements, but I think right now post banless it's at a really bad spot. And hopefully it receives newer support or maybe just newer fire support in some type of way. But from now, I think we would just leave it at rogue level. I'm good. I'm really happy that Bonfire didn't get hit at all because that would have really hurt the deck further. Moving on, we do have Ritual Beasts, and Ritual Beasts belong at testing meta. Now, I think post banless, we didn't, it didn't get hit like directly at all. Really, like if D-Shifter got hit, yeah, it would have really hurt this deck, but it did not get hit. I think that we're gonna have to wait and go further in this format to see how this deck will develop, but it has really performed solid so far, right? Moving on, we do have Tenpai. Tenpai's rough. I wouldn't say the deck is rogue level just because of, the Sangan Summon going to 1. It does hurt the deck a lot, but I think it's something that we should still test out in the meta because it's still a very strong. It's the best OTK deck that we have currently going, right? For in the current meta. I mean, those boom battle phase just do what about like 30,000 plus damage is broken. So I wouldn't count, Tenpai out of the bag yet. Let's see how it performs this format. Next up, we do have, of course, all of the Dragon Rulers. Put that at Copium. It's not doing much. Like just playing Dragon Rulers by itself, it's not doing much. It's doing worse than Thunder Dragon Colossus, Thunder Dragon decks. But next up, and finally, we do have Pearly. Pearly would also go at testing meta. It's been a solid deck. I think it's just sort of, it hasn't gotten that shine since it came out. Like, well, it has got its shine since it did come out, but I feel like other decks sort of just had that top placement, and it's just slowly sort of became like the average deck. But this format, it may actually come out and shine a little brighter. But guys, that's all we have for the September 2nd ban list. And I think that this is pretty solid, going forward with the meta. We're really excited for the next core set to come out as well, to see the new Mold Charmy card. But of course, let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section of how you feel about this. And of course, did I miss any decks, any of your decks that you would play as well? I'll make sure to add it into the next list. But guys, that's all I have for you for today's video. If you guys liked the video, make sure to give it a huge like, comment down below your thoughts, of course. And if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn notification bell on so you're updated the moment I upload new videos. All right, guys, that's it for me. Hopefully you have a good rest of your day or night, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace.